Hello there, this is Cindy at cindybdesigns.com. Thank you for joining me today. These are three more alternative cards that we will be making from the March 2025 Daisy Daydream Paper Pumpkin Kit. But this time I'm bringing in Queen Bee and Cheerful Daisies bundle and Fresh as a Daisy Sweet collection because I had so much fun creating these and they all perfectly complement each other. And I'm using all of the in colors that are retiring, so hopefully use up those in colors and we're just going to have a lot of fun doing all this. So for our first card, I am bringing in the daisies now on all three of the cards. I use the daisies from, let me make sure. Okay, on all three of the cards, I use kits from the card or contents from the kit. Okay. And then this one that we're doing here, that image or the sentiment is going to come from the paper pumpkin kit. But those two images I'm stamping on that piece of designer series paper there. That is from Fresh as a Daisy designer series paper, which is part of the Cheerful Daisies bundle or Fresh as a Daisy Sweet collection. And I'm stamping down kind of like that typewriter script print there several times. And then I'm grabbing the large B with Pebbled Path ink, and I'm stamping that off a couple times just to busy up that paper a little bit and give it a lot of dimension because we're not doing too much to the flowers. But I really just wanted to give that piece of designer series paper there just a little bit more punch, and never hesitate to stamp on your designer series paper. I do it all the time. Measurements, everything like that will be over on the blog at cindybdesigns.com. So don't worry about that. From the Cheerful Daisy stamp set, I am pulling in a couple of the leaves, and I'm going to stamp all those several times in garden green ink for some tone on tone onto garden green cardstock. And then I'm going to be stamping the stems several times as well too, which I will die cut a couple of those on screen this time. But next time for our second card, I do have a couple stems and leaves left over, and we'll be doing that. So I'm lining up our die cuts on the cardstock there, and they are pretty true to form, and you're going to have a tight fit there, but they do always fit just great. And I have a hint for you about that coming up. What we do to the dies to get perfect cuts later on when I see the die doing this voiceover. So I'm pulling in the mini Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, and I'm going to get those cut out, and then I will cut the other images off screen. Oh, okay, that sentiment does come for Cheerful Daisies, not the card kit. The card kit sentiments will be on, not card kit, paper pumpkin kit. I'm using them on cards 2 and 3, but this one is from, oh, like I said, Cheerful Daisies. I'm trying to like watch one, look at my card, talk, and do everything at the same time. Got that stamped down in Pebble Path ink onto very vanilla cardstock, and I cut that out with a tag die from Cheerful Daisies dies. I'm putting adhesive on the back of our designer series paper that we created there on top of designer series paper. And I want to make sure that's centered just basically left to right, because top to bottom, it's going to be the same measurement. And that was put down onto a Pebbled Path card base. I decided to bring in 3 flowers from the kit, and I'm going to arrange them over towards the right of our card there. And our images from Cheerful Daisies, they were die cut, like I said earlier. And now I'm just grabbing my tweezers, and I'm going to put little teeny tiny dots of liquid adhesive on the back of those stems there. And when your glue gets like that, clean the end of it, kind of like I did right there, because it's just getting all clogged up inside. And so I shoved them away because I had a good idea and a visual of where I wanted to put the flowers and the stems and everything like that. So I'm just kind of getting everything lined up there. And I brought in my tape there because that will give me a good idea where I can sneak under the stems And I'm not quite sure why I had a frame change there. I forgot because I did this a few days ago, but obviously it was something. So back to this card now. I laid down another stem and I want to join them all at the bottom. Now the third one, I kind of put atop of the middle stem there rather than kind of towards the bottom right like I did with the left one. And that kind of, I'm not going to say messed it up. It just didn't give me the aesthetic that I was after. But I do end up fixing that at the end. And I think it's on the picture actually at the very beginning of this video. And you'll see it too over on the blog. But I do, the bottom of those stems where they conjoined, it was really bothering me. It just didn't look right or grounded. So I grabbed a little bumblebee from the paper pumpkin kit and put that on a Stampin' Dimensional on the back of the bee and put it down at the very bottom there. And I'm happy with that. And those are three of the larger daisies from the paper pumpkin kit too, by the way. So now I was trying to get the leaves in between a spot where the little glue dots weren't. Didn't quite work out for me that way, but you know, it's all right. I was able to use my pokey tool and then sneak a couple leaves underneath there. And for these, I did like one on the right and then two on the left. The middle one's kind of hidden there, but I had to do that odds and rule of three thing. So I'm going to go ahead and get that down there for you right now. So while I'm getting the rest of this together for you, that's where I'm experimenting, and that leaf just did not work for me at all. I didn't want to crowd up top there. But we have some retiring end colors coming up, and I really encourage you to use them. I'm I'm going to miss all of them. I used all of them with these cards here. Was never a fan of the Moody Mauve, even though that's the focus of our second card, crazy enough. But the Pebble Path and the Wild Wheat definitely grew onto me, and so did the Boho Blue. So that 1/8 inch Daffodil Delight ribbon there, I'm threading onto the back of our sentiment, and that ribbon is from the spring catalog, and that's going to be retiring at the beginning of May, just like the end colors are, and this year has flown by awfully quick. So I really encourage you to use up what you have, use your stash, and we did refresh the clearance rack, but I have a better alternative. Do my buy one, get one, because that way you get it for free. So that's something to think about. I'll do a newsletter on that for you next week and talk about it during a video later on. Got our sentiment all put together, trying to figure out where it goes. It looks great up there at the top left. And that's what I'm kind of thinking, done. And there is our bumblebee that I did add. So that is going to be it for card number 1. Oh, and real quick, go to my blog under Card Class to Go. We're doing storybook moments, and super, super quick, because I normally don't show this. We're going to be making that box and those 5 beautiful cards. And so go to that page over on the blog at cindybdesigns.com to check that out and see what that is all about. So for card number 2, I did a lot of cutting here because this is our simplest card that we're going to be doing. And the sentiment comes from one of the stamps that's in the paper pumpkin, which I really encourage you to sign up for. You have until April 10th, which is 5 days away, to sign up for the April kit, and be sure to pick up the coordinating dies that are going to go with April, May, and June. So might as well do 3 months, right? Because that kit is going to go up in price, only a couple dollars. So get in there while you can. I'm heating up or pre-warming my embossing tool there because I wanted to lay that sentiment down with Versamark ink and white embossing powder just for something a little poppy, and I kind of wanted to even out my whites, my white focal points in this card a bit. So I did that, and our card base here is actually copper clay, and that piece of cardstock right there, that is 3 inches, and I stamped that sentiment at the bottom from the paper pumpkin kit. Going to get that heat embossed. I cut another piece of Fresh as a Daisy Designer Series paper, which is the same as that, and that is going to be 1.5 inches by, no, 1.25 inches by 5.5. And then that little teeny tiny piece of wild wheat cardstock or designer series paper going down the middle to kind of separate where I adhere the two. That's also cut from Fresh as a Daisy designer series paper. To me, that's a mouthful for some reason. So start using all of that up. I know I'm going to be as much as I can. But anytime that we have a sweet collection, but the stamp set and the dies carry over as a bundle, but they retire the ribbon or the embellishments or, things like that, the designer series paper, I hang on to it. I mean, in my opinion, there's no reason not to. If you're going to be having the stamp set and the dies, why not have the perfect coordinating, embellishments to go along with it? So there's our strip of wild wheat paper there, and a 1/4 inch by 5.5, and I put some tear and tape on the back of that and adhere that down. So for this daisy, I'm just going to pop that down with one glue dot, kind of get everything figured out, and I'm going to put the stem or do the stem and the leaves the exact same way that I did the last time, except this time I think I learned not to glue the stem down first. So I was kind of winging where to put the flower, figured that out. Oh, and I do this a lot. I know that that's a smaller die cut there, but a little dab of glue at the bottom, and then a mini stamped dimensional at the top just to get that some really good dimension. And now I'm finally going to get the stem down. And ultimately, I decided to use 3 of the copper clay embellishments that came in the Fresh as a Daisy Sweet collection. And again, go ahead and check our clearance rack. They might be over there, or the paper will be, but I'm still going to have a significant amount for you in my BOGO, and plus it's free. So again, something to think about. Check out, and let me know if you have any questions about that. It's just basically buy one get one free, and with the new catalog coming out and everything else going on, it's time to stock up. Now for our third card, there's lots of layers to this and lots of things we're going to do to this. And I'm bringing in the kit, Queen Bee, and Cheerful Daisies, all this into one. And I like the way this turned out. Queen Bee is pretty much a vintage set, as are bits and pieces of Cheerful Daisies and this kit. You can, certainly turn it into vintage. So I already did our card base, which is wild wheat, and I ran it through the Hive embossing folder and adhered that down with a little bit of liquid adhesive. And then I cut a mat of boho blue, and I think that's going to be 3.5 by 4 3/4. But again, everything will be over on the blog. And then I cut that little leafy thing out of boho blue right there. And those two, honeycombs come from the kit. So the first thing I want to do, that card base there, or not our image panel, that is actually one of the card bases cut from the kit. And that is cut down to the same size I said a couple of minutes ago, but again, check the blog. And I wanted to see how many times I can stamp that off with wild wheat ink, because on the card base it's super, super light crushed curry. I got inky fingers, got a little bit right there at the top, trying to cover it up. But since it's kind of vintagey, I'm not carrying too much. And I think that when I'm doing that, it's like the 5th stamp off. So it was getting kind of dark there for me, and I knew I wanted to add in some pebbled path, which would make it even darker a little bit. And I just kind of threw it together, did a lot of stamping off. And okay, oh, you know what I did there? When I was wiping some stamp off just now, my chamois thingy kind of made that piece of cardstock, gave it a little, watermark in the back. And I'm not cutting another piece of cardstock. I'm just going to turn it over, right? That's why there's 2 sides. So I'm laying down the boho blue panel, and now I'm going to lay down the pebbled path panel, and I'm really layering this up. I like those kind of cards. You don't have to use all the layers if you don't want to, but the main thing I really want to get across here is just being able to create, which we, did with the first card, our own designer series paper using stamps and stamping off and whatever else you want to use, or beefing up some kind of card base with already a pattern on it, designer series paper, whatever you want. So I'm grabbing that scripty image from, that one comes from Queen Bee. I'm sorry I'm out of frame. I think I look up and push my stuff up eventually and realize that. And then I went ahead and grabbed that large stamp there, that floral one from Queen Bee, to fill in some spaces there. So I'm stamping that off a lot of times, like 5 times. And then I'm looking, or that's what it looks like. I'm not even re-inking it. I'm just stamping it off again on that same cardstock. And that is going to be our image panel. I think it turned out great. It was a lot of fun to do. And it was a kit card base and, the kit stamp set and Queen Bee stamp set. And I'm pretty happy with that. The pictures are a lot better than what shows in the video. So I apologize for that. I'm not sort of, but kind of in the home stretch of getting this card all the way together. So we are going to take our sentiment, and I'm bringing in a completely different color here. And this sentiment is from the Paper Pumpkin Kit. And I'm bringing in a smoky slate. And that is nowhere on this card anywhere. But with our 3 colors of boho blue, wild wheat, and pebbled path, plus the very vanilla, I kind of felt like they were all starting to mesh together a little bit, and I needed something that was different, that was right on top, because everything else is behind. And I've kind of explained the concept of this before. You kind of keep it boring, then back and busy on top, or busy in the back and boring on top. It's just what you prefer and what you want to do. So I got our sentiment down with Pebbled Path ink, and it looks great on top of that, by the way. And I got that die cut out. Now that ribbon, that is definitely on clearance rack. I love it. I have another roll of it. I'm going to keep it, although I probably won't use it. But on presents and stuff like that for friends, I will. So I wanted to do something special with that ribbon because we do have a busy card there, and I didn't want to add too much more to it. So I taped it onto the back of our sentiment panel there, and I cut it down pretty tight. And all you have to do is pull out one string and then pull it, and it'll bunch up the ends like that. And that's just something different to do when you're using ribbon on your card or anything like that. But I definitely know I wanted to use that ribbon. Plus, it's my favorite too. So this is the large, well, Queen Bee from Queen Bee stamp set. And this time around, to ink her up, I am bringing in our Stampin' Right markers, which are completely neglected in my space. So when you color on our photopolymers, no, these are cling melt. And you can color on photopolymer too with our markers. You want to use, and you can see what I'm doing there, you want to use the side of the, the side of the marker there. That way you're not blunting the tip or anything like that. And since we're using different, and that's really pretty, and that is in boho blue. And since we're using 2 different colors on our butterfly, I'm going to do the center in Pebbled Path and then the other wing in boho blue too. So I'm being really careful around my margins with, the body of the bumblebee and the wings. Oh, and I didn't tell you this last time when I was stamped down that boho blue wing there. You see me pull off the lid of the Stamparatus. What I do is I blow on it, which is called huffing. Not like, a kid would have a spray paint can. I don't even know if that's still around or not. But what it does, it refreshes the ink. It just adds that moisture back to it. So I wanted, the inside of the bee darker, or that image a little bit darker. So I colored it in again, and I'm good with that. And now we're going to go back to boho blue, and I'm just going to get that other wing colored in. So there's so much to ramble about with the new catalog, my buy one, get one free, the on-the-go class, Um, oh, and definitely the April class to go because you're definitely, I mean, you're just going to love it. And it's super cute. And thank you for all your orders on that last month. There's two ways to do it. Either purchase it by purchasing product, or you can just get the PDF. So I'm getting that image really dry as I can because with so much going on in the background of this card, I had to do something special with that image, at least in my opinion. So I'm going to ink that up with Versamark ink and then pull in some clear embossing powder and sprinkle that over top because you can emboss our ink, whether you use Versamark or not, it can be embossed. The only reason why I did Versamark this time around is because I knew that my colored ink was already dry and I needed to put another layer on there that would hold the powder until I got it dry. So I love the magic of heat embossing because you can see everything light up right there. You want to keep the cardstock moving and your heat tool moving because you don't want to scorch your paper. And there's pictures over on the blog, a still one of this, and you can see just how much this card needed that little bit of bling to it, that little bit of spice, a little bit, just something that was needed. So I'm going to get that die cut out and then run that through the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. And what I just pointed to, those holes in the die cut, if you can see the ink through that, because those are the legs, then it's lined up. And that is like that one tip that I had about that, because our dies are pretty tight. So we are going to get this adhered right now. And I brought back in our sentiment and our queen bee there. And what am I going to do? I was like, where was I going to line this up? And before I got everything down, okay, I got to get my little hives down with little dots of liquid adhesive on the back, just in a few places. It's going to stay down no matter what. Now that one up there, I purposely offset it from the stamped hive just for, to add a little bit of interest. So I'm getting the bottom one down over there towards kind of like the bottom, not actually the right center. So as I'm getting everything adhered down, if you have any questions about whatever's going on, please, email me, leave a comment. And speaking of which, don't forget to leave a comment on the first paper pumpkin alternatives and take it back to November too, because I'm still waiting on that girl to email me. So I got Stampin' Dimensionals on the back of our bee there, figuring out where that's going to go and look the best along with the sentiment. And this one, I know where I want to put that down. And I love that. It's kind of like a little laurel wreath thing. And it's something I really wish I would have used for Christmas, come to think of it. But this paper pumpkin kit and the Sweet Collection and the bundle, both bundles, it's just such a testament again to how everything works perfectly together. And if you kick back and take your time and look at it and look at the scale, it's just super, super easy to create with. May take a little bit more time, but I mean, clean and simple is great. And then just kind of sitting down and getting super inky like this and doing your own thing, and that gets great too. So, I mean, it's just whatever you want to do because that's what it's all about. Not trying to sound too hokey pokey or anything like that. It's been a long week. Okay, got our sentiment panel down, our image panel down with seal. I didn't put any of them on dimensionals because I was layering everything up. Figured out where I wanted to put our bee, and that's pretty much towards, 2/3 of the bottom. And then I'm going to pop stamped dimensionals on the back of our sentiment, and that's going to go up at the top, right? And that tag was cut from Cheerful Daisies dies. So I've really made a good use of this product, and you know what? I still have a ton of product left over from the kit. So I thought, well, these dots are going to go soon, so might as well take up a little space in between that wing and the sentiment over there on the left, and one is okay. So I do want to thank you for joining me today. Please feel free to hit like and subscribe. Sign up for my newsletter. I do a lot of information on that. And leave a comment. And don't forget to leave a comment with the paper pumpkin giveaways, because it will say giveaway at the video. So thank you for, or description. So thank you for joining me today. Have a great weekend, and I hope to see you again next week.